Hello and welcome to our program. A major in microbiology and a distinguished management career could not keep her away from her true calling. Intense soul searching made her understand and gravitate towards what was her intense desire to do later on in life, and that was to get an understanding of the Vedanta and to serve humanity. And that has now led her to teach Vedanta traveling all across the country. Please welcome Srimati Jaya Rao.
Thank you.
Jayaji, welcome to our program, and we are truly happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here too.
Wanting to start with Vedanta. You know, a lot of people think it's a very esoteric kind of a term. What is the Vedanta?
Vedanta literally means the anta or end portion of the Vedas. As you know, there are 4 Vedas, and the last portion of each of the Vedas contains the Upanishads, which gives you knowledge of yourself. And it cuts across all barriers of nationality, caste, religion, race, and addresses the human being and helps the human being to move from an ordinary person to an extraordinary, outstanding, towering personality.
So is it linked to religion, or is it a philosophy of life?
It's a philosophy of life that is the basis of all religions. So you can't really segregate spirituality in a way from religion. The only difference is spirituality has a more wide reach. As I said, it cuts across all kinds of barriers, whereas religion tends to be marginalized into little pockets.
And it's also been said that, you know, over a period of time, religion has come to be taken away from what it really stood for. So does somewhere understanding of the Vedanta help us understand our religion?
Oh yes. It helps people from different religions understand their particular religions better. It helps them to become better human beings, which is in the end the goal of all religions. So actually it helps people from all religious denominations to follow their respective religions better.
You went into a phase of intense introspection, you know. Life was great, you were comfortable, you had a great career. And what happened?
It's very difficult to explain, and I think it's best explained by way of a metaphor. Mm-hmm. In Plato's metaphor, the Greek philosopher, he speaks of a generation that has lived in a cave for many years, and there is a bright young man there who suddenly thinks that there has to be something beyond the cave, and he explores alone because no one is with him, and ultimately comes to the mouth of the cave, and he sees what you and I see every day, the sun, the moon. He breathes, as Wordsworth calls it, an ethereal air. And he realizes that this is what has driven him. So when you're in darkness, when you're in ignorance, there is the urge in each one of us to get to freedom. And that is called mumukshatva, meaning the desire for freedom from bondages. And that is something that if you have, you will never rest content till you start moving towards light.
So the other things that we look for freedom within, you know, whether it's material gain, love, satisfaction, joy, do you think there are processes or natural stages for us, for anybody, to evolve to that stage?
Yes. We begin with the material, physical. And then we find that when you move to the emotional, it gives you much greater joy, much more fulfillment than mere sense contact. And then you move to the intellectual and you get freedom from emotional likes and dislikes, from physical comforts and things like that. Finally, when you move to the spiritual, you experience the freedom from from bondage at all 3 levels.
So does it happen to different people at different times? Because, you know, they say that if you try and tell young people certain things, they're not interested, they're looking for something else, and then as you grow older you start questioning those very things and you want to evolve. So is it age related, or is it?
No, it's not age related, it's maturity related. In fact, in my experience, we find that young people are more open, they question, they wonder if the trend set by their parents, which is, you know, today money is the benchmark of success, and they're questioning that. So I find the young people are perhaps more mature than, in a sense, than the previous generation.
So it could be the evolution of the human being as a species?
It's individual.
Right.
Some people have it.
Okay.
Some people take time to develop it.
It doesn't cut across.
No.
Okay.
It is said in Vedanta, it is said that humanity goes through certain phases. The infancy of humanity, where all they look for is material comfort, and then they move to the emotional. You find in the United States, for instance, they have a great value on family values. They have understood the need to keep the family together, which is what our Indian heritage is about. So they're moving to the intellectual. A lot of Americans are now moving to the spiritual because they have reached the zenith of material development and have found it wanting.
Okay.
So civilizations follow a certain pattern, but within that, even though externally we are all materialistic, internally an individual may have a spiritual urge.
Okay. How is the Vedanta philosophy different from other spiritual philosophies?
Vedanta actually is the base because it's the oldest knowledge known to humanity. And out of these, they say that the Greeks took their philosophy from Vedanta and presented it in a manner that their audiences could appreciate. And then Europeans took it from there, and the Americans took it from there. If you take a look at all modern day philosophers, you'll find that they have taken their knowledge directly or indirectly from Vedanta. It is also true that a thinker can arrive at the same conclusion by his own thinking. But since we in India have this tremendous advantage of having the gold mine of knowledge, we would do well to fall back on it. It's like if you want to study science, you don't have to go down to the basics and learn law of gravity and so on. Someone else has discovered it, so your base is higher in scientific research. Similarly, we have a distinct advantage in philosophy.
This power of the question, the power to question, tell us a bit about this.
This is the core of Vedanta, actually. This is the core of human excellence. The capacity to question, to explore into unknown realms, and bring within the periphery of the known that which is unknown. This power of the intellect, as we call it, is denied to all other creatures. And it is because of the intellect that the human being has achieved excellence and sovereignty over the world. But today you find that thinking is not encouraged, particularly in India. The educational system is such that if you question too much, you're told to keep quiet and just follow the routine.
Right.
And so thinking has become a scarce commodity. And we, some of us in Vedanta, are trying to get people to think, to question, to find out. For instance, yesterday I was speaking to a group of people. I said, you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you start a profession. Have you ever wondered, is this what I ought to be doing? Have you questioned, do I need marriage? You know, I'm not suggesting that people should not get married, but we just go through life without thinking.
Yeah.
And that is the problem.
So where does this start? At the family level? Right at the beginning?
It should start at the family level, but unfortunately, because of a disconnect now between us and our own culture, the family unit which supported these values has broken down. And so we need to make a conscious effort to rebuild these values. And we on our part have started an educational program for school children. We run courses for young adults and of course for the public at large. But the school course is particularly effective because we make it a fun-filled interactive session. It's not a boring lecture. And yet we get across the values.
You know, Jayaji, the challenge is that if questions are asked, who will give the answers? And I think this fear of having the right answers somewhere stops the system from encouraging questioning.
That's true, because they don't have the answers. And a very important part of this educational program is training of teachers. And this is where we are facing a roadblock, because we get We don't get people with that maturity. You know, you have to have people who have lived these values to be able to communicate. It's not just words that you are communicating, and that is the difficulty.
Okay.
But hopefully over time we'll achieve it.
I know, and I think, as you said, it's a process.
Yes.
So slowly, and as long as there are people willing to want to make a difference and want to become a difference, that's where there's light.
Yes.
Desire. A lot of people say it's the root cause for evolving. Many say it's the cause of our suffering. What is the role of desire in our lives?
Well put. This is the dilemma before people across the world. That on the one hand, desire seems to be that which propels success and excellence. On the other hand, desire is that which brings us down. So you take a look at Mahatma Gandhi, you take a look at Einstein, you take a look at Roger Federer. It is desire that propelled them to excellence.
True.
On the other hand, you have a lot of people who have gone down the tube because of unbridled desire. So the key here is controlled desire. If you scan the desire with the intellect, examine it, analyze it, and ask yourself, is this in my interests to pursue, or is this something that is going to come in my way, and then deal with it accordingly. I often say you need to press the delete button on many of our desires, and some desires which are positive we need to promote so that we grow into wonderful human beings. So this discrimination and this control and redirecting of the desires is important, which again comes back to the intellect, the development of the intellect, or the strength of the intellect.
So how do you decide the good and the bad of desire?
You know, when you use your conscience and analyze, is it really good, then what is good for you is always good for society. And here the difference is not just use of the intellect, but use of the conscience.
Okay.
So the conscience tells you what is right and wrong, and that which is right for society can never be wrong for you. That which is right for you can never be wrong for society. In the end, it's the conscience that one must follow.
Okay. So somewhere in this struggle to decide what works well for me will also work well for society or for my family, and there is this thing called the ego which comes in the between. How does one handle that?
Yes, that's a tough one. You see, ego is something like a tiny bubble on the surface of the ocean. The bubble assumes an individuality because of the air that is captured within the thin film of water.
Right.
In effect, the bubble is the ocean. Even as it validates its individuality, it is still part of the ocean. Similarly, we as individuals, when we look at our physical, emotional and intellectual personalities, we assume an identity of our own, and that ego gets bloated.